Hello and welcome to another Midweek conversation at First Baptist Sweetwater, where we strive to be the first responders of God's love. Speaking of love, I love this guy, T. Hamilton. He's my co-host. My name's Jerry Hendricks. We're here and it's Holy Week.
It is Holy Week, the week that shows us the love of God the most.
Well stated, Teak. You're really on point this
Go a
afternoon.
little spiritual in that part. Let's lead off with that.
Yeah, so it's the most significant week of the year, probably.
Yeah, I talked about it the other day with Stacy. I think, and I could be wrong, I think the reason I like Holy Week so much is I do like stories.
Yeah.
And this is one of those stories that evolves throughout the week, even though it's the same story. As you read through it, as you study it, as you listen to whatever you're reading, I mean, it always brings something new to the conversation. And so I think that's why I like it so much. Advent, I love Advent. I love that kind of stuff. I love the symbolism. But it is a much shorter story than Holy Week.
Right.
I think that might be it.
I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's for one thing, you have the experience of the longer season, where you're not going to maintain a focus for that length of time, but
Right.
you keep your initiatives that you're striving toward intact during that period. So there's a consciousness to it, but when you get to Palm Sunday and you move into the days of Holy Week, it's I think, from my experience, I think there's even a change in emotion.
Yes.
That you start to feel, particularly if you're having and doing some of the readings for your morning in a devotion in the morning.
Right.
I think it really, I do believe that morning devotion set the tone for the day,
Right.
and during this week, it's just a whole different tone.
Yeah.
And it's a progressive one. It's a story that we're familiar with. In some ways, we've seen visualizations of that, whether it's from, we were talking to our good friend across the street, Ryan Strebeck, whether it's about the art of this season, or film, or even pageants that we've seen in the past that have, in some way either triggered something for us or impacted us in a way where it makes the week more visual,
Right.
And engaging more of our senses in this significant week.
It's a visual theology.
Right.
And I think it's impactful. I think anytime we can hit on those senses and see more of it, it really opens up. And, I was just thinking myself, dating myself now, the Ten Commandments, Charlton Heston, I was always confused about why that was used at this time of year, like why that's in there. Like all of a sudden you see him everywhere. You're like, why are they showing that? Passover.
Right.
It makes sense now. It's never made sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a part of the experience that you and I talk about so much in this, is that you're continuing to add elements to
Right.
this for in your own life. And so it's not something that's just a do-over or a routine, or you ever get tired of hearing and telling the stories.
Right.
There is something new that's added to it and layered on it.
Yeah.
And there's the other thing, and we were talking about this after lunch today, that there's such rich history from first century of experiences that people used during this period to help them
Right.
understand and not celebrate the event, but to understand the event and tell the
Right.
story. And we miss out on some of those. I think we do a really good job in present day, in present culture, but it is a really good learning experience year after year.
And I think that's what probably makes me most upset when someone rushes to say, but Sunday's on the way.
Right.
You miss the story. You
Right.
miss the visual theology. Our ending to the worship service Sunday, that video. I mean, and someone was asking me about it. I said, well, that's about how quick they flipped on Jesus.
Yeah.
We were talking about, we come in with kids, palm branches, and such a cool thing to see them lead out in service and lay their palm branch down and sing Hosanna and all that kind of stuff, to right at the end of it, you see Jesus going up on the cross. Here is your king. That's kind of how quickly it ended in Jerusalem too. I mean, he enters 1 week, the next week he's on the cross.
It is an unraveling week, and it's just hard to imagine what that experience would have been like at that time.
Most definitely.
But one of the things, speaking of some of the visual aspects of it, we've done something new this year with our children's ministry, the Resurrection Garden, and we're going to have one on display this Sunday at the front of the worship service, front worship center, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about their experience. But it's a daily activity and devotion that our children and families can engage in to participate in this Holy Week day by day.
We don't do many shout outs on our podcast, but or name dropping on our podcast.
Yes, we do.
Well, but if people don't watch it, they don't know.
Oh, that's right.
But
hey, I've learned, my count now is we are up to 6 consistent followers on our show.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many of them
Hey, did you realize that on our podcast, I looked this up because we had meetings this week, since we've started podcasting, we have over 36,000 downloads.
That's a lot of downloads.
That seems like a lot. That may be only 2 or 3 a week, but who knows?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, shout out. Meredith Ferguson. She's doing a Resurrection Garden, and then they did Resurrection Rolls, which I don't know if you've ever had those. It's a roll.
No, but I'm intrigued.
You put a big marshmallow inside with cinnamon butter. You fold it up, and that's Jesus in the tomb. You cook it, and when you bite into it, that marshmallow is melted, and the tomb is empty.
You did some of those last year, didn't you?
So good, yes. So good.
I think that was my first experience with those.
Like as a kid, Resurrection Garden would probably be an intriguing thing to me, but as an adult, those rolls, they win for me. I play in the dirt a lot. You know me. I love working the yard. I love that. But marshmallows, cinnamon, sugar, butter, roll.
A lot of good elements there.
So good.
Plus, people are talking in the middle of the week about the significance of this week.
Exactly. And they're talking with their kids about it. We say it all the time, A team, B team. The family's the A team, we're the B team. But really cool to see kids talking about that with their parents about what the significance of the empty tomb.
So the children are given these kits. Mm-hmm. They read a devotion, and they kind of build this garden throughout the week.
Right.
It actually is a garden and grows by the end. But the other thing we've asked them to do is send us pictures.
Yes.
And so some of those are being posted this week, but then there'll be a slideshow Sunday of the pictures. So if you're a part of that children's ministry or doing that at home and listening, or share this with others, that we do want those photos so that we can share that with our congregation as a part of our worship, because we know that our children and families are, because they've participated in this, are well aware of what Resurrection Garden is, but some of the rest of us, it's new.
And
so
we're thinking tomato plants.
Well, I wasn't, but anyways.
No, the ones who don't. They just hear garden. But it is a really cool, another visual theology, I guess you should say. But I love just the idea of it, the way it tells the story. They've got a devotional book that carries them through each day. They're able to do certain things on certain days. And they have something that grows quick enough for it to work during the week.
Right. And did you do one last year, or did you just give some?
I've never done one. I gave 2 to my niece, or Stacy and I did to my nieces this year.
Okay.
And they did one, or they each did one, and we got pictures of that also.
Okay, great. Well, excited to hear about that from our families and hear some of those stories. Probably be able to hear some of those this Wednesday as kids show up for our Wednesday night programming. But glad we can provide just another element, another layer, and touch a different part of our congregation as we go through this, and make it more than an Easter egg hunt on a Sunday.
Right, which are also good.
Not that I did. I mean, I encourage that.
You know, if Easter egg hunts were like the resurrection rolls, there'd be nothing in them. That would be the most depressing Easter egg hunt ever. But you get to eat the others. I'm stuck on those. We're having those sometime this week.
Well, I was noticing that a lot of churches have an Easter egg hunt on Sunday morning prior to worship. And I'm assuming that at our church, we've never done that.
Not on a Sunday morning before worship. We've done them on Saturdays.
Well, yeah, because we don't have any grass here.
Oh, yeah, that too. But we do have plenty of places to hide stuff. We find
it's
stuff
not the
all
same.
the time.
Deke, it's not the same. It's an Easter egg hunt. It's not. I don't know what you're thinking it should be, but we don't have a place. Our place isn't conducive for that. True. It doesn't work.
True.
Yeah.
But your kids won't roll around in the grass in their brand new dresses here.
True. Touche. So we start our service a little bit later than normal to give families
Earlier
a chance
than normal.
Earlier than normal, yes. No Bible study hour at
Right.
9:30 or 9:15, but rather worship service only at 10 o'clock. And so that's, I guess, the only challenging part for us, people that don't catch that notification, even though we've put that out there a lot.
Right.
It kind of helps families adjust in the mornings to do what they need to do at home, so that they're not completely worn out and frazzled by the time they get here for worship.
Right. And then we have that worship service a little longer than usual, but goes well, and you don't really feel that it's gone longer because you're still out by 11:30.
Oh yeah. And so Sunday worship was great. We've talked about that. Coming up this weekend is our Easter service at 10 o'clock, and then the following that we'll have the next Sunday, the 24th, we'll have communion.
Yes, and that's another intentional part. I mean,
Right.
maybe that's it. It's the intentionality of everything we do during the week of Holy Week and then communion afterwards, because
Right.
it doesn't quite fit on Resurrection Sunday. It doesn't quite fit on Good Friday. It definitely doesn't fit on Palm Sunday, but the Sunday after seems appropriate.
Right, and you're right about the stories that come into our experience during Holy Week. I know that in my reading last week, and I tried to use some of that Sunday, and I felt like there was either so much information I was overloading and not communicating well, but the significance of Jerusalem at that particular time and what all had gone on prior to Jesus' arrival
Right.
at that moment. And it's really interesting to try to capture the history of that time, and because you're trying to understand Jerusalem from its inception of being really the center and the host of the temple,
Right.
to a time where things are more contentious. It's controlled by Rome, and it's just a real interesting piece to that entire story as you start to think about that.
And even the layout of Jerusalem, and you kept talking about a procession from the east, a procession from the west. We don't think about towns in that way anymore. We don't think about a walled city or anything like that. The group coming in and the response of a crowd gathering to see them come in. You just don't have that. We have parades, but this is different, and so it's just it's tough to visualize it, but it's important to get the context of the story.
Right. And I was listening to a message it's an older message that it's on YouTube, but it's around this Easter season. And, he was describing Jerusalem as that place where the wise men came from the east. So he was going back symbolically, I suppose, also, or using that as some symbolism to this experience of going not just from where Jesus was traveling at that moment, but even from the time of his birth, and then what's happening on the opposite side, of the other side of the world, which, again, you play opposites against one another, and then you have this unraveling of the experience of Holy Week.
Right. And I loved when you brought up the colt versus the war horse,
Yeah.
And that difference there, and coming as a Prince of Peace, and so good.
Well, and in trying to kind of capture that, I think when you think of when you can, through telling a story through Scripture, kind of picture a movie, you can almost see the way that would be produced and directed. Those opposing forces coming and meeting up in Jerusalem. But anyways, very significant week. Good time for us to step back, kind of evaluate our own life, and push through on these last days to experience the fullness of this time, this season. And so we're looking forward to each day that we have to experience this. So thank you for letting us be a part of your week, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing you on Friday at 6 o'clock at our Tenebrae service, and then also on Sunday at 10 a.m. We'll have get there early. We do start on time, even on special occasions. We always start on time, and find your place, and it's going to be a great day.
See you then.
See you.